Hello everyone, it's Daniel, Innovation Lead from Formula 5. In this video, I would like to talk about Microsoft Sentinel and show you that it can be used not only to monitor security posture of cloud and on-premises environments, but also it can be used to monitor security of DevOps platforms like Azure DevOps or GitHub. So let's start. Before we jump into practical demos, a short reminder. With Microsoft Sentinel, we can collect data from many different sources, and then we can detect threats and also investigate them. Of course, we can use Microsoft Sentinel to also respond to security incidents. And I mentioned that we can collect data from many different sources, so why not to collect data from Azure DevOps and GitHub? With such approach, we can monitor those platforms and make sure that we have comprehensive look into their security posture. So let's see how to do it. For those of you not familiar with Microsoft Sentinel yet, it's worth to mention that Microsoft Sentinel utilizes Azure Log Analytics workspace underneath. So this is the place where all the logs are streamed. Obviously, we can enable Microsoft Sentinel on multiple log analytics workspaces. As you can see here, I've already configured Microsoft Sentinel using my log F5 DevSecOps log analytics workspace. So now I can start streaming the logs from Azure DevOps and GitHub. So let's start with Azure DevOps first. Here is the Formula 5 organization in the Azure DevOps, and under Organization Settings, there is this tab called Auditing. And this is the place where all the logs are displayed. Before we can enable auditing for Azure DevOps organization, it has to be connected with the Azure Active Directory. Once it's enabled, we can also stream the logs to Azure Log Analytics workspace. So once it's connected, all the logs from Azure DevOps will be stored in the Log Analytics workspace and can be queried. So let's get back to Microsoft Sentinel dashboard. Here is the Microsoft Sentinel dashboard again. If we switch to Analytics tab, this is the place where we can define multiple analytics rules. Analytics rules can run different kinds of queries on the logs stored in the Log Analytics workspace to detect potential threats. As you can see, I defined two analytics rules for the logs from Azure DevOps to detect when branch policy was removed and also when the new extension was installed in the Azure DevOps organization. So let's focus on the Azure DevOps branch policy removed analytics rule. When we open its definition, we can see that there are different kinds of properties. Let's focus on some of them. As we can see, we can define the name, so Azure DevOps branch policy removed, add description, and also we can set severity level, so in this case medium. Then if we switch to set rule logic, we can see that there is the query that is executed on the data collected in Log Analytics workspace. If we run such query, we can see the results returned from Log Analytics workspace. And in this case, we can see that operation name is policy config removed, and also we can see the details about specific project and source code repository where this specific branch policy was removed. And then basing on that, we can take some actions. So let's see how to do it. Once analytics rule is executed, alerts are generated. And those alerts can be grouped together into an incident that should be looked into. But this is not the end. Maybe we would like to automatically respond when there is alert generated or incident generated. We can achieve it with automated response. So let's look at it now. Try to imagine that once this branch policy was removed, an incident was created, we would like to inform project manager or dev lead about this fact. So we would like to, for instance, send the email message to a specific person with the information that branch policy was removed in one of the source code repositories in the specific project. We can use automated response in the Microsoft Sentinel to do it, and playbook specifically. So let's see how the playbook structure looks like. Here is the structure of playbook that will be triggered by analytics rule. So once Microsoft Sentinel incident is created, we want to send an email to a specific person with incident title and description. Obviously, it's possible to provide more details. This is the email I received once the branch policy was removed in the DevSecOps source code repository under Formula 5 Cloud Center of Excellence project in the Azure DevOps. Great! So that was a quick overview how to collect and analyze logs from Azure DevOps with Microsoft Sentinel and how to respond to potential security incidents. But at the beginning, I also mentioned that we can utilize Microsoft Sentinel to monitor GitHub. There is a dedicated data connector to connect GitHub with Microsoft Sentinel. It's worth to remember that GitHub Enterprise license is required. Once we add data connector, we have access to different kinds of analytics rules. Here are some examples of them, like GitHub two-factor authentication disabled or repository was destroyed. But there are many more that can be configured. Exactly like in case of Azure DevOps, for GitHub we can also create incidents in the Microsoft Sentinel and automated responses using playbooks, for instance. With such approach, we can be sure that we have comprehensive look into security of DevOps platforms like Azure DevOps or GitHub. If you want to learn more about this topic, I encourage you to visit Formula 5's Insights blog, where I published the article called Improving DevOps Security Posture with Azure Security Services. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.